Major League Soccer side Colorado Rapids confirmed this week that they will indeed rebrand the team's image, but not the name. They polled their fans and came up with some answers to their questions about how they appear and how they occupy the soccer space out there. And interesting that they'd do a total rebrand of the image, but keep the name.
It's funny to me, and this is not directly about the rebranding thing. We'll get to that they do Dateline. They do they do all the old newspaper style stuff for a press release on the club's website. I don't know. It's funny to me. Commerce City, Colorado. Of course, it's coming out of Commerce City, Colorado. That's where the Colorado Rapids are based, and it's on their website. Anyway, the Rapids confirmed today that the club will reimagine the Rapids brand and visual identity, led by the results of the first phase of the One Club, One Legacy fan feedback initiative. So they engaged 5,000 people, spanning diverse generations. How many generations do you think they got? They got some boomers in there? They get some boomers?
Why not? I mean, didn't they shorten the length of generations, so that shortens the gap, right?
No, yeah, all the generations are shorter than they used to be.
Yeah.
We used to have real generations. Now I got
25 years.
Yeah. Comment through a combination of surveys, in-person interviews, focus groups. One that deepens the meaning of the identity Rapids while recognizing and building upon more than 30 years of history. Now, let's put them in their time and their place. The Rapids is an OG MLS brand, just in terms of the name. Now they've changed their badge a couple times. I didn't bring up the old one. You might know it. A lot more green involved. That the blue green. They also had a weird ball thing. I think that was their secondary logo for a while. I actually have. Let me see if I can. So this is the kit they gave me a couple years ago. Obviously, this is the current Rapids logo is right there. This is in green, obviously, because the shirt is green. It's that maroon color. What do they call burgundy? They call it burgundy, right? So let's work through their further information as posted and see if we have concerns about where this is headed. They want to clarify the purpose and meaning of Rapids, who we are, brand identity. Right now, obviously, Rapids is a reference.
Rapids, I thought that fell under the same blanket as naming it Colorado rather than a specific city. I mean, there's Rapids all across, the state. So I figured that's what it's for, right?
Well, I mean, it's always, it's a reference to Rapids on a river. You can shoot the rapids up there in Colorado. It's a thing that people do.
The state.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's also the thing, because where Commerce City is located, there ain't no rapids.
Yeah, what is one of the eastern towns, like the Colorado Flatlanders? I mean, that doesn't have the same
ring. Yeah. My mom, my parents are from Colorado. My mom was born in Fort Morgan, Colorado. There are no rapids or mountains in Fort Morgan, Colorado. I can tell you that. That is Eastern Plains as opposed to Western Mountains. Reimagine and modernize the current crest, secondary marks, colors, and imagery to improve focus, consistency, and impact across all platforms. That is way too much marketing speech for a publicly posted update on their brand refresh. But it does boil it down to what we look like. Do we think the Rapids need a what we look like update, Mr. Kerr?
Well, I am trying to think of, when I think of the Colorado Rapids, what imagery comes to mind. And I think it's an interesting time to rebrand, because there's a balance between like creating legacy and history and imagery that lasts, and to make it last, it has to actually have a lifespan. And so a team that's been around 30 years has already had a couple different looks. So I'm trying to think of what the Rapids already looks like, and there's not like one specific thing. Like, you brought out a green shirt, and that's a completely kind of different look than I would expect in my mind. I mean, the burgundy comes up only because that's been one of the more recent colors, but I can understand in a way that they want to, almost like refresh and set the tone again. But yeah, there's the burgundy. I guess that's the color that they want, but it's not like very strong. It doesn't smack you in the face. Like, if you ask the general soccer fan, like, what does the Colorado Rapids, look like? I don't think that there's like some very firm or passionate thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of any of these, by the way. I know there is design speak that could pick out why I'm not a designer. That first one, the original logo, man, that's just, I don't know. It's too cartoony.
Greg in the chat likes it.
I
The
mean, look,
96-01.
if you go back to the original and you remember that team at the time, then maybe I understand. I don't know. It screams minor league sports to me, and I know that's unfair because you
I
got
was
somewhere. You
Yeah,
got
it looks like a WHL minor league hockey team.
yeah. Then there's that Roundel one, which is absolute trash. That
Youth
is
soccer.
trash. That
That's
is
a
so bad. And then we get the update, which has been around since 2007, and it is inoffensive. But that's like all it is. It's okay. And maybe badges don't need to be exciting.
exciting.
Maybe they
Yeah.
shouldn't be trying to fill that role. But I do think there needs to be something about them you can hold on to and say that's our identity. This is what the Fire went through, right? When the Fire botched it, fumbled the bag, and did the terrible, terrible rebrand with the weird, what was it? The weird like the Fire rebrand of a
The
couple years
crowns,
ago, Rob.
3 crowns.
Yeah, the three crowns thing, and like obviously just butchering that. They realized, okay, what the thing that people like, attach to us is those Chicago flag colors and the idea of fire as in the fire department, right? Which is the original concept of the Fire. And then they had to go back. They had to engage a new designer after they screwed it up with the three crown weird thing. And they got it better. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's way, way better, right? And they refreshed at the same time. So how do the Rapids go about this? Now, again, like in the information here, there's some quotes. Rapids Chief Business Officer Haley Dermer. They're taking steps to evolve their visual identity and refining who we are, what we stand for. They talk about we heard people. So the one thing it's interesting is apparently 90% of the respondents, here it is, identify with the name Colorado Rapids and don't want to see that changed. And I do like that because I have had issues with clubs in the past dumping a previous identity with a new name, and I felt like turning their back on their history. Now, I'm willing to be proved wrong, and I was proved wrong, I think, by Sporting Kansas City when they did their rebrand back in like 2011. Because and maybe that their history wasn't deep enough. That was like what 15, not even 15 years yet when they did that rebrand. But I didn't like that they went away from Wizards because that's who you were. Just own it. And eventually it becomes normalized to the place of, okay, we're proud of that name. Like, what is a Brown? The hell is a Brown? It's named after a guy. And you're just wearing your color's not even brown. It's like this orangey thing.
Yeah.
But you can't take that away from Cleveland football fans. That's who they are. That's the thing they connect with. I just don't know why we have to constantly be in search of something new which only is going to create more problems and sort of reset everybody's ability to identify with the team. So at least they're sticking with the name, Rob?
Yeah, I think that the process is interesting that they're going about it. If they wanted to take this leap of a rebrand, I like that they're trying to include, voices from the other side of the stakeholders. But so they want 90% of folks like Rapids. They all identify Burgundy as the core part. And I don't know if this is corporate speak or if this is really what people were saying, that they wanted a reimagining and not a reinvention. Or is that just semantics there? Like they want to mildly tweak it, but not, throw
Yeah.
the baby out with the
Yeah.
bathwater sort of
Well,
thing.
you've got a good point that it feels like semantics and unless you are actively defining it. And even then, you're going to have to be very careful about how you're specific because the Rapids want to refresh and they think they need to. So they're not going to give the fans the option to say, don't change a damn thing. Well, you can do that. But what I'm saying is like the option to change something has to have the ability to actually change something. So like, okay, they see Burgundy as a core part of the club's identity. Well, that sounds like they're going to go with that. Fine, stick with Burgundy. 55% are open to updating the crest, plus 30% above average across sports fans. Okay, that's interesting that they're citing statistics for previous research on fans wanting a rebrand. 55%, small majority want that. A clear preference to reimagine, not reinvent the essence of what is the essence of who you are? What is that? What define the essence for me? Is it Burgundy is part of the essence? Is the word Colorado part of the essence? Is the word Rapids part of the essence? What is the essence? Okay, so here's what's next. Over the coming months, the Rapids will continue to work alongside Name and Number. That is Kyle Sheldon's group, by the way. If you
Mhm.
know, people remember Kyle Sheldon, he worked for the DC United, he worked for the Seattle Sounders, now he's got his own agency. If you're on LinkedIn and you're a soccer person, you will see Kyle Sheldon. Just let me tell you that. Having brought on Modest Works, a strategic design studio specializing in the development of memorable brands to lead the design process. Fans will continue to play a meaningful role in the next phase. Okay, so and then look, and then there's the stuff like if you thought that this was them trying to distract you, that they're from other things that might be an issue around the club that fans are asking to be fixed that they're not willing to fix, and they're just going to do shiny object new rebrand. They do mention that they're trying to improve the overall fan experience. I mean, this is a club that has long had owners that have been accused of being pretty spendthrift because they haven't updated the stadium in Commerce City, which is Dick's Sporting Goods Park. They haven't, like, there's a scoreboard issue. It is the bare bones MLS 2.0 soccer stadium, right? It's the one that the Fire abandoned in Bridgeview. It's the one that FC Dallas is now updating with the roof in Frisco, Texas. Right? They're out there on the fringes of the community. They're not in Denver proper. They're not getting the vibrancy, right? I think part of this too, with the timing, guys, is that Denver Summit has come in and grabbed all of the attention when it comes to soccer, or
Oh,
at
is
least
it that means is this why they're doing it? Because they saw the outside threats are coming in?
I don't think it's a direct response to Denver Summit. I think they were probably pondering this anyway, but it doesn't, it's not connected to that, right? It's not connected to the idea that Denver Summit has come in and proved that you can capture a lot of soccer attention, and the Rapids were doing none of that. They were just kind of sitting there floating in the water doing nothing. Interesting point from Sluggo about the Colorado market. I haven't lived in Colorado, but obviously got family connections there. I certainly know how huge the Broncos are. And that's most NFL cities. The NFL team gobbles up most of the attention. But obviously you've got a Denver Nuggets team that's won a championship in recent years, right? The Avalanche, I don't know how good they are this year. I haven't checked on the NHL standings, but they're usually pretty decent, or at least in the conversation. Or they've got some they have their particular piece of the pie in
Yeah,
Denver in
no
terms of
doubt.
attention. And now Denver Summit has come in and again set a record in terms of attendance for a women's game. And they're not going to draw 67,000 every time, but they're proving that you can. And look, and new and shiny matters, but that's what the Raptors are doing. They're going, we can't be new, but maybe we can make ourselves look newer than we actually are. It's a thing, I guess.
That's a good idea, though. You're talking about Denver coming in there, and it's worth following up to see how these games attendance do as we move forward. And we had a USL and basically a men's side expansion check, and we should do the same on the women's side in next week.
Yeah.
I think that'd be worth it.
Thank you to CD Gobjects, who is letting me know, because again, I haven't checked the NHL standing. I live in DC. I don't think the Caps are pretty. The whole story about the Caps is whether Ovechkin comes back next year. But apparently the Avs are really good and going to win the points title. So yeah, all right, that's good.
Well, kudos to you guys out there if you're an Avalanche fan.
Hold on. Are you a Red Wings fan?
Oh, of course, and
Okay.
that's like the best, one of the best rivalries of my childhood, right there.
I know. I remember those days when I cared a little bit more about hockey, and I did end up becoming more of a Caps fan than an Avs fan. But of course, when the Avs showed up in Denver and my family had roots there, I was like, all right, let's go Avs. And they won a title, 98, 99, whatever that was. They beat the Panthers, I think, that season. And I remember some of those.
The Colorado won the year before the Red Wings won back-to-back in 97 and 98.
Okay, that's what it was. Maybe it was 90, 96, 90, 95, 96, something like that. And I remember, those Claude Lemieux teams really got into it with the Red Wings. So,
Peter Forsberg, Patrick Waugh, the whole days. And then I'll never forget one of the moments that made me fall for radio and led me down a radio career was there was one of those playoff games where it was a bench clearing brawl, absolutely iconic moment, goalies fighting the whole 9 yards, and it was a payback for a dirty hit from like a year or two before, and it was like this big thing. But my parents had made me go to bed, so I had a radio in my room, and I had listening secretly to this like massive Donnybrook fight all-timer on the radio, which was an amazing call, but great moment there. But interesting approach. We'll see what Denver and Colorado Rapids come up with for their rebrand. We'll follow along as we see more there. We have let's check in on the poll one more time before we go to our MLS wish list. We said that the TV rights story is still well out in the lead
What
there. So we
I,
see
I
what,
think
but that says it connects to more people out there in the country, right? That people want
right.
to, are
I
interested in
think
how to get their MLS.
I think people took it as I had closed the polls. So because of the runaway win for MLS local television rights, they had essentially thought I'd closed the poll. If you would like to still vote, you can. It's there. It's active. You type 1 for Argentina Goes SEC playing in Auburn, Alabama, and College Station, Texas. That's the story. Or you go 2, you type 2, and we go MLS local television rights. So and like see the voting is coming in. It's another 2, another vote for MLS local television rights. Rob.
So for added context, those not into hockey or Detroit versus Colorado history, producer Jenny, we got the producer of the Red Wings in the house, and she knows it all. March 26, 1997, fight night at the Joe. Definitely a light bulb moment for young Red Wings fans.